Erie. It's Monday, February 17th. Welcome back for another Flagship City Sports Talk brought to you by Quickfill. My name is Nick Artman. I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Clean, Paul Adams. Zach, how you doing, buddy?
Good, man. You know it as well as I do. Getting into downtown Erie this morning was a mess.
It was awful.
To put it lightly.
It was awful. I was like, I'm going to leave early this morning. I'm going to try and get into the studio, get settled, get prepped. And then I just passed, I'm coming down 79. I just passed the 8th Street exit there by the Country Fair. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I'm stopped. And it was like that for the next 20 minutes. And I'm like, this is awful. Like it's and the construction's not new, right?
No.
But I don't know what's going on this morning. It's stop and go the whole way downtown.
I think I sat at that light there at 8th and the start of the Bayfront, like for 3 light cycles.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just like, drive.
I feel like I'm back in Pittsburgh. Like stop,
yes!
Go, stop, go, stop, go. Oh gosh. I don't know. And then we'll get into that too. But no, back in the big chair, feeling good. The great and powerful Rich Smith is here today.
News of my death is greatly exaggerated, but not by much. No, I actually ended up with influenza A.
Oh, dude, everybody's getting it. It's all over the place.
Wash your hands and, lock your office door so you're, that's what it is.
I'm going to just put a seal up, like one of those asbestos seals around my office. We'll just put it around the studio.
You ever seen the thing that the otters... Like the animals, they put their arms out to get. That's what we need in offices. Just hand me the document through there, and
No, it's going around, man. Everybody's sick. My kids, we got it last week too. I mean, it's been all over. And if you haven't got it yet, it's coming.
Probably. Yeah, I hate to say it.
And I think part of it is we were talking about this morning too. Like February is the point where I'm like, all right, winter, you got to go. I'm fine with the snow. I'm okay. But February is that point where it's like spring is coming. The groundhog is an idiot. Let's get rid of all this snow. Let's get rid of all this snow. Anyway, enough whinging.
I was going to say, good to get that off our chest.
I know. I feel better. You feel all right?
I feel good.
I feel good too. Because we got a lot of stuff we want to get into today. We're going to be talking basketball. Obviously, the D10 playoffs.
I was telling Rich before you came in. I think this is the longest my pre-show Word document has been in quite some time.
Yeah, which is a good
lot of info this morning.
Which is a good thing. We got a lot of basketball talk to hit. We're going to do some high school bracketology later. We got Matthew Scott, the new Edinboro head football coach, joining the show at about 9:30. And then, you'd think the Super Bowl is over. You think we'd be done with NFL, but we're not. We got one more football segment we want to hit and just kind of talking about some NFL offseason musts as we head into the offseason for our Rust Belt teams. So fun stuff on the horizon. Well, what do you want to do? You want to get in it?
Shall we?
All right, let's get in it here. We're going to jump into the North Shore Rewind brought to you by Duskus Funeral Home. All right, as is tradition here, we are going to go through our District 10 Players of the Week. There was a lot of them, and it was tough. It was a tough week, I think, to pick one.
A lot of wrestling, a lot of basketball seasons finishing up. There was a lot going on in high school sports.
And a lot of great action. And typically that last week of basketball, it's kind of already set, right? The league play is already over, and you're trying to just get to the end of the season to hit your limit on games. But there were some great games last week, and I'm going to go first this week, only because I'm going to steal your boy Kenny Godoy of Girard, making history, scoring 29 points in the Yellow Jackets' 64-40 win over General McLean, pushing him past 1,000 career points per Go Erie. He is the 11th player in team history to do so. And he's a junior.
Yep.
And I feel like that's been the theme. We got another guy we'll talk about as well. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, MPP was the same way. She's a junior racking up all these points.
Yep.
So this is a great basketball season. But, I mean, it's almost one of those things where I'm like, all these juniors are putting up these amount of points. Next year is going to be electric. Not, this year is not over yet. But
yeah, the star power that's returning.
Yeah, exactly.
Next fall.
Yeah,
next
exactly.
Winter.
Oh, and Godoy, earlier in the week, he posted a double-double with 28 points and 10 rebounds in a tight 45-43 victory over rival Fairview. Now, I know they're still working on, Horizon Web, Copper, Uvino, all those guys over at Go Erie do a great job of collecting all of those stats. I saw Tom tweet last night. They're still working on some of the box scores, so these may not be as accurate as can be. Godoy wraps up the season in 4th place in D10 for points at 465. I mean, that's impressive, the amount of work he has been putting in. Girard finishes the season 18-4, taking 1st place in Region 6 with a perfect record in league play as well. So I know we talk about him every week, but when you go over 1,000 points, we're going to bring it up.
Yeah,
congratulations to Kenny Godoy.
Yeah, I'll just throw in JT Del Sandro from Harbor Creek, another junior who surpassed the 1,000-point threshold. Here's my player of the week, though. Carson Pape from Fort LaBeouf. Men's basketball, he became the all-time leading scorer with 1,031 points and counting for the Bison. Just the second LaBeouf player to cross the 1,000-point threshold. That's crazy. He did so in the Bison's 66-30 win over the visiting Seneca Bobcats last week. So 1,031 points, career leading score for that high school. Did it surprise you as much as it did me that Fort LaBeouf only has 2,000-point scorers in their history?
It did, and not even because...
You just said Godoy, the 11th at Girard.
Right, and it's not that... I mean, maybe Fort LaBeouf isn't a basketball school, right? They're definitely a wrestling school. But,
sure.
I mean, for as long as they've been playing, I mean,
Yes.
that is very surprising.
George Washington was at Fort LaBeouf. So, it's been around for a long time.
I think he's first. I think he was the first. Yeah, I think he was the first.
Him and his wooden teeth. I guess what it means, though, is it shows that 1,000-point threshold, especially in high school, is still a big deal.
Absolutely. All right, well, congratulations to both of those, but that's not all we want to get into. You know what? Let's do the 2-minute drill here in the A.
You want to do it here?
Yeah, you ready?
Let me scroll to it.
You think so?
Here we go.
All right.
Okay.
You're off.
All right, let's start off with the Mercyhurst women's hockey team. They took down Syracuse 5-3 behind a hat trick from Thea Johansson, who scored the game winner in the 3rd and added an empty netter thereafter. Vanessa Upson notched 3 assists, while Marielle Parks and Chantal St. Croix also found the net in that game. Goalie Magdalena Luggan made 26 saves in the win. Out to Edinboro, men's basketball edged IUP 58-56, completing their first season sweep since 2008 of the Hawkeyes. Steve Kelly led with 16 points, while Shanker Evron posted a double-double with 11 points and 14 rebounds. Scott's defense held IUP 3 of 13 from deep, sealing the win with a late stop. Down to Gannon, downtown, the men's basketball team rallied from a 16-point deficit to beat Clarion 78-65, securing the PSAC West top seed. Tasman Goodrick scored 29 points, had 10 rebounds, while Justin DeBuck added 23 for the Golden Knights, who are now 20-6, have won 4 straight, and wrap up their road trip at Pitt Johnstown this upcoming Saturday. Out to Penn State Barron, the men's basketball team upset number 4 seed Pitt Bradford, the number 4 team in the country, 69-62, handing the Panthers their first AMCC loss. Matthew McDonough led with 20 points, while Nate Edwards grabbed 13 rebounds. Barron held Pitt Bradford, who's averaging 109 points per game, to a season-low 62 on 37.9% shooting. Yes. The Erie Otters split their weekend series against the Owen Sound Attack. In the first game, the Otters fell 8-5, with Owen Sound's Landon Hookey recording a hat trick and 4 points. But the Otters were able to rebound in the second game, securing a 4-3 overtime victory, highlighted by Malcolm Spence's game-winning goal. Otters on the road today at Oshawa for a 2:05 p.m. start, and let's finish it out with this. Former Northwestern standout Ben Fennell is set to be named the Wildcats head coach, pending board approval Tuesday night. 2002 graduate, Fennell has coached at Conneaut, Northwestern Seneca East, and Conneaut Valley. That means Cathedral Prep and Maplewood are the lone remaining District 10 teams still looking for head coaches.
Jeez.
The 2-minute and 15-second drill.
Well, I'm sorry. My audio fader was going crazy this morning. I'd pull it down. It would creep back up. I'm so sorry I was messing with your ears there.
That's all right. I'm just listening to me.
But you're constant pro.
Yeah, the
Mr.
consummate professional. Make sure you add that to my Twitter bio or something.
Well, you can. I can't do that. But
okay.
If I had access to your Twitter, you'd be in trouble, buddy.
More trouble than I already get myself in. That's interesting.
No, I think
there's a thought.
Yeah. There's that's we'll save that for off the air. All right. That was the North Shore Rewind, brought to you by Dusk's Funeral Home. When we get back, we're going to get into some bracketology. The District 10 brackets in basketball, both boys and girls, were posted over the weekend. So we're going to get into some teams we like, some teams we're worried about, maybe pick some winners along the way. So we'll get into that.
Yeah, heavy B block.
You're listening to Flagship City Sports Talk, brought to you by Quick Fill. Welcome back. You're listening to Flagship City Sports Talk, brought to you by Quick Fill. Basketball is here, and we don't necessarily hide the fact that we're all big football fans in this studio.
Yeah, if you don't get that by now.
But, this is prime time basketball season, and we're going to start with high school. We're hoping to bring back Sean Pebbles in a couple weeks, to talk some Cavs basketball as well. They've been doing good, I hear. I don't know.
They're okay.
But we hit the All-Star break in basketball, so we're going to be ramping up our basketball talk, as we move into whatever you want to call it. I call it the sad part of the sports calendar when the NFL starts to fall away. But some people get excited about basketball, I guess.
You know what? This part of year, I get we're out of football. I mean, for people like me, I'm draft crazy.
Yeah.
So kind of like one of the best parts of football season is coming up. I love the combine.
Yeah.
Which isn't this week. It's the end of next week.
Already?
Yes.
Wow.
So yeah, we're at that part of the season where like the real scouting begins. Selection Sunday for college basketball is I think in 3 weeks from now. So like we're getting to tournament time. Conference tournament time, and then obviously you get March Madness time. Yeah. As March Madness ends, you get into NHL and NBA playoffs, and then like around June 5th, that's when things are just really, really sad in the sports world, but usually the sun's out, so you kind of, there's that balance,
There's a balance. A lot of good stuff we're going to get into, and I want to, because we're going to keep honking, we're going to end up with 2 minutes on actual content.
Probably.
But make sure, Paul dropped the draft coming up, the NFL draft. Make sure you check out his draft pod on the Gem City Sports Network, where you can find this show, the Gem City Sports Pod, a bunch of different content going on. Follow along at Gem City SN. All right, let's stick into the North Shore Rewind for a minute. Over the weekend, the District 10 committee got together and laid out the brackets for, high school basketball playoffs. And what we're going to do is we're going to try and hit all of these and go down through quickly, giving you the 30,000-foot view. And let's start on the 1A boys side. Only 3 teams to make it: Erie First Christian, Youngsville, and West Middlesex. Paul, when you look at this bracket, what do you see?
Well, all 3 teams get that first round bye because there's only 3 that make it. The thing that stands out to me is who's going to make it to the state playoffs. That's who I'm looking at, who can actually compete for that state title. Erie First Christian Academy, the number 1 seed in Single A, 14-6 on the season. They've got the best player, maybe in District 10.
I think so,
certainly
too.
in Single
Yep.
A in Avery Collins. That's who I'm watching to come out of that bracket.
Yeah, and Avery Collins, led the league, I believe, in points this year. Again, waiting
28
for those
points per
things.
game.
Oh my gosh, it was insane. But then they got Aiden Bloom as well to help. I think that's enough.
He had a good last week of the season.
Exactly, and they're heating up at the right moment. So I think that's going to be crucial for them to come out of this tournament. So I agree. I like Erie First Christian as well in that bracket. Jumping over to 2A. In 2A, we had 12 teams come through in not this is not seeding order, but Rocky Grove, Sharpsville, Union City, Sagertown, Eisenhower, Wilmington, Mercyhurst Prep, Greenville, Cambridge Springs, Lakeview, Cochranton, and Maplewood. When you look at this giant bracket, this isn't the biggest one, by the way. What do you see?
Number 1 seed Rocky Grove at 19-3. The presumed winner, Noah Bachman, maybe the best player in that bracket, averaging 19.5 points per game. I took it a little bit differently this morning going through. I looked at the best game, and I thought that in round 1, that is.
Yeah.
The 10 seed Cambridge Springs against the 7 seed Greenville, teams that have met already this season twice. Greenville's 2-0 in that matchup, but both games were 3-point victories.
Yeah.
So very, very close matchup. You know how playoffs, neutral site games, defense gets ramped up at this part of the year.
Yeah.
So, that 10-7 matchup, you could see an upset there.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, just because Cambridge Springs is coming in with a 7-14 record doesn't mean they don't have a shot.
Means nothing. Everybody's 0-0.
Yep. I like Mercyhurst Prep coming out of this. I think that, obviously Rocky Grove is the team to beat, but when you look at Mercyhurst Prep, they had a very slow start to their season, but they've won 12 of their last 13. And we talk a lot about momentum going into the playoffs on this show.
Coach Bear's ability to coach defense, and you said it a moment ago, playing your best ball at the right time.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough bracket, and I think Mercyhurst Prep, I mean, they're getting hot at the right moment. All right, let's jump over to 3A. 3 teams here. We got Mercer, Corey, and Iroquois in the 3A boys bracket. What do you like in here?
This one is interesting. There isn't a clear favorite. If you look at the seedings and then you look at the overall records, Corey, actually the best record of the 3, 13-9. They get the 2 seed, and they're going to sit behind Mercer, who's 11-11.
Yeah.
So this is where you get into that a little bit of bias isn't the right word, but when the playoff selection committee's D10 guys get together, they look at the actual teams and they try to determine who the best team is moving forward. So maybe a little bit of controversy in this one, but the selection committee feels that Mercer was the best team of those 3, so we'll see how that one shakes out. Iroquois, I was a little disappointed in this year. I'll be honest with you. I thought that was a team that was the second-year head coach there, Paisley, who's very, very good. Took a huge step forward from 2 years ago to last year.
Yeah.
I expected another step forward this year. Didn't quite get there, but hey, once again, playoffs 0-0. Let's see how they go.
Yep. Yeah, they had that Cinderella story, going into the playoffs last year, which was a lot of fun to cover. Yeah, I don't know that I understand Mercer, the number 1 seed here either. But the bottom line is, I think Isaac said this last night when we were talking about it, is I'm not sure, and this is my opinion, I'm not sure that any of these teams really are going to go beyond the D10 bracket.
I was trying not to say that, but yes.
I'm just going to say it. I mean, I'm not to put these kids down. I don't mean it like that, but I mean, we just need to discuss it. This is going to be a great bracket. I do have Corey coming out of this. I think Camden Moon, Landon Dean, and Nick Scouten form a solid starting 3 that'll at least carry them through this bracket. But prove me wrong. I would love to see one of these teams
and maybe,
go through into states.
You get the best record and they kind of throw some shade at you as a 2 seed. Maybe that lights a fire under you and
exactly.
get over the hump.
Exactly. All right, let's jump to 4A where we have 14 teams. This is not a playoff. This is like a regular season bracket. A lot of basketball to get through. Let me just run down these teams in no particular order. Cathedral Prep, Fort LaBeouf, Farrell, Girard, Harbor Creek, Grove City, Franklin, Hickory, Fairview, Slippery Rock, Sharon, Conneaut, Warren, and Oil City all farting. Oh, this is just a Monday. If it's ever been a Monday. They're farting the bracket. No, they're fighting for a 4A title here.
That's going on the blooper reel. Write that one down.
What do you see in this bracket?
Cathedral Prep, probably the best team in this bracket. They dropped down from 5A. A lot of talent on that roster. They played a really, really tough schedule, so the record might be a little bit misleading. I see them coming out on top. I think the best game in round 1, I'm looking at number 6 Warren versus number 11 rather, Oil City. Warren 2-0 in those games, but again, a 3-point win and a 4-point win. You get a neutral site game. It should be close in round 1.
Yeah, I think so too. This one, the fall to 4A for Cathedral Prep is something we've kind of kept our eye on all year.
Yes.
I think this is where you're going to see it really. I mean, I think every team, all other 13 teams are circling Cathedral Prep in this bracket. And I think
They got a target on their back.
That's who I'm circling too. Quickly jumping into 5A. Nothing to talk about. Meadville took the 5A title here in D10. They're going to move on to the sub-regional on February 25th. Now that leaves us with 6A, where we got McDowell and Erie. McDowell swept Erie this season in both games. Do you think that they'll make it 3-3?
Boy, I think so. They won handily in both prior meetings. Once again, I look at neutral site playoff games. McDowell, Erie. It's city versus suburb. It's always a good game. Erie, very talented. I just think McDowell has too much.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think McDowell, again, Erie always seems like they're a year behind. McDowell just has a lot of offensive firepower coming into this. A team that I am looking to go into the state championships or the state brackets. All right, jumping over to the girls' side, 1A, Commodore Perry and Farrell. You know, this is kind of like what we were talking about in the 3A boys. This is, I mean, either team could take this. Both are going to have a shot to take this. I think I do have Commodore Perry coming through, but just, squeaking by Farrell there as well.
Agreed.
Jumping to 2A, we got Kennedy Catholic, Cambridge Springs, Sagertown, Maplewood, Eisenhower, Wilmington, Cochranton, Mercer, Lakeview, Sharpsville, Union City. Who do you see coming out of the 2A side here?
I'll put it this way. The best game, I think, in this one may determine the champion. It's actually the 8 versus the 9 seed. Cambridge Springs and Sagertown. Cambridge 2-0 in those games, but 8-9 at neutral site.
Yeah.
Rivalry game. Could be very, very close in AA.
Yep, I think Wilmington is a sneaky team in this one. Well, they're the second seed, so they're not that sneaky, but I just think they're just firing on all cylinders here, not to use a bad cliche. Jumping to 3A, we got Northwestern, Mercyhurst Prep, Northeast, Seneca, Greenville. This is a tough bracket as well. Who do you see fighting for this one?
Well, in 3A, here's what we're looking at. Northwestern, the number 1 seed, 22-0. 5 teams in that bracket. 3 of them get the bye. The only round 1 game is going to be Mercyhurst versus Northeast, and the winner of that game will go on to play Northwestern. So it's going to be Seneca Greenville. Winner of that game probably going to get Northwestern. I can't wait to see Presser Palmer in the playoffs.
Oh my gosh! I mean, if this has been regular season MPP, I'm excited to see it as well.
Let's see if she can take it up another level.
I think they have a chance to make a run. That's for sure. All right, jumping over to 4A, Fairview, Grove City, Corey, Conneaut, Franklin, Harbor Creek, Hickory, Sharon, GM, and Slippery Rock. Who do you like in 4A? What's that?
Bingo.
Yeah, jumping into 4A. Who do you like here?
I like Fairview. I like Coach Garrity. I like Fairview's ability to pick up the defensive end of the court as the playoffs every year. They give up, 36 points per game, if I remember correctly, in the season. That's going to go down 10 points. You're going to have to fight and claw and scratch for every bucket against the Tigers.
I'm going to the other side. I'm going Harbor Creek. They fell to Fairview twice this season, but I think third time's a charm on the shoulders of Brooke Pazilski's 403 points on the year. Wrapping up 5A, Cathedral Prep, they're the only ones there.
Yep. And they're going to be off until March 1st.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. And then 6A, we have Erie and Warren. Do you have a favorite here?
I don't know. They split the season series 1-1. Erie won 48-28 back on January the 27th, but a week later, Warren won 58-55 at Erie. So a 20-point win for Erie and then a 3-point win for Warren. I feel like Erie maybe a little bit complacent in that second matchup. I think Erie comes out and takes this one big.
I think I'm going with Erie too. The Nevin sisters are they're heating up at the right moment. And that's what you want. Again, like we always say, coming into playoffs. Before we take our next break, I want to take a second and thank all of our sponsors: Quick Fill, Duskus Funeral Home, Dauber Auto Supply, John's Wildwood Pizza, Denny's Sales and Service. Without them, we wouldn't be here for you. When we get back, we are chatting with Matthew Scott, new Edinboro head football coach. We're going to give him a call and share his thoughts. You're listening to Flagship City Sports Talk, brought to you by Quick Fill. And I think we're able to bring him in this way. Again, we're getting ready to bring on Matthew Scott, Edinboro's new head football coach. Let's see if we can get this to work. Coach, can you hear us?
I got you guys. Can you hear me?
Oh,
hey, there we go. See, who needs that antiquated phone technology? We'll just bring you onto the stream directly. So appreciate you for being flexible and working with us here this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Well, for those of you that don't know, again, we kind of teed it up. We are chatting with Matthew Scott, Edinboro's new head football coach. And Coach, this is our flagship feature segment, and one thing we always start with is just give us your origin story, man. Where are you from? How'd you get here? When'd you get into football? Whatever you want to include from birth to today.
Listen, I'm a firm believer that God blessed me with the ability to be a football coach. The people that He put in my life started out at West Allegheny down there just outside of Pittsburgh, and got a chance to play with Bob Pelko, one of the best coaches in Pennsylvania. And just the great experience there, winning a state championship, being a part of a great winning program, a tradition, a powerhouse, just really kind of instilled a lot of great life lessons into me, helped me grow up in my formative years there with my great home life as well as my mom and my dad. And it just kind of grew from there. I got a chance to go to IUP and play football as a defensive lineman. If you see me now, I'm 200 pounds, but I was 270 back in the day, So that GA life when I became a graduate assistant really helped me thin out a little bit when I didn't have any money, and so that was a good thing. But I went to IUP and played college football there, and got a chance to play for Frank Signetti for 2 years. And then Lou Tepper for 2 years. And again, you just talk about people that were put in your life that were great coaches that taught me a lot of great life lessons. Used the game of football to enhance my life, and I was like, man, this is what I want to do. And so it was between staying at IUP or going to continue and get my degree, my master's degree. And so I went up to the University of New Haven, which was starting their football program back over, but very similar to IUP and even Edinboro, with a lot of tradition in the early 90s and 80s and a lot of winning. And they dropped football in 03 and they decided to bring it back in 08. So I went up there as a graduate assistant and worked with 50 freshmen and about 15 transfers that had no idea what college football is all about. And we got that thing rocking and rolling there in 08 and 09, and won 5 games in our first varsity season. And then that class of guys went on to win the Northeast 10 title in 10, 11, and 12. And after my 2 years there, I went to the University of Albany and got a chance to work for Bob Ford, who's another legendary football coach. He started the U Albany football program from club all the way up to Division I FCS. And I worked with him for 4 years, and then 1 year with Greg Gattuso, who's a Western PA guy. And he's actually heading back to Penn State. I just left Albany. He's heading back to Penn State, back to his alma mater, but I got a chance to work with him for a year. And then I decided I wanted to call my own defense. And so the opportunity to go to Susquehanna University with Tom Perkovich was there in 2014 and 15. And again, another opportunity to start a program kind of over. They had won 3 games in 4 years. And we go on to win 5 games in year 1 and 6 games in year 2. And then the opportunity to go back to the University of New Haven and be the defense coordinator there in 2017. So I go there in the spring. There's 35 guys on the spring roster. Like, oh, what did I get myself into? We couldn't even do 11-on-11 football. But Chris Pinson's had a great plan in place and wanted to bring me in and bring me along and get the place rocking and rolling again. And we go from 2017 to having 35 guys to going to 5 postseason appearances and winning 3 conference championships. And then the opportunity here at Edinboro to get back closer to home. My family still all lives out here. Get back closer to home, be a head football coach in the PSAC, one of the best Division II conferences and best college football conferences, top to bottom, regardless of division. And so that just really excited me to have that opportunity to come back here, and that's where I am, and I'm so excited to be here.
Well, you hit on a couple things I definitely want to talk about. First, it's nice to meet a fellow Crimson Hawk. I don't get that much up here. We were there. We were there about the same time, and I graduated '09. So you understand that rich history of the PSAC tradition, and I think it is an exciting time for Edinboro. Obviously, they've had a lot of transition over the last years, as a university, as an athletic program. So I think it's exciting. I do think it's an exciting time for to come in. And you mentioned it. So what do you think excites you most about coming in and taking over the Edinboro football program?
Sure. The kids have been the best part. They're extremely eager and excited about the new transition. They know how close they were last year. I mean, last year it could easily been 8-3. And again, I told them no one's here to pat you on the back and shoulda, woulda, couldas and things like that. But you've got to see when you see our offensive line and a bunch of young guys that didn't know whether it was Tuesday or Chicago out there last year getting slapped around, and now a lot of those guys are coming back, calloused over and ready to go. So that has me really excited about the youth that's within the program, that's eager to be a part of it and build and take next steps. And so for me, that's got me really excited. They've jumped 2 feet in with this thing. There's the guys are all in right now. And so as my staff starts to come in, I'm just like, hey, don't mess it up. They're drinking the Kool-Aid, so to speak.
Yeah.
Let's just keep building on this momentum.
Yeah, we need to put that on a Flagship City T-shirt. I don't know if it's Tuesday or what'd you say, Tuesday or Chicago?
Tuesday or Chicago.
I love that one.
Coach, 48-18 in the last 6 years at UNH. Last season specifically, you gave up 62.5 yards per game on the ground, averaged better than 4 sacks per game, and were ranked 14th nationally in defense, giving up 15.7 points per game. You've had success as a coordinator at multiple levels. What do you think the biggest challenge in shifting from defensive coordinator to head coach is, and how are you preparing for it?
Sure. And I still plan on calling the defense. I'm going to, some guys hopefully will be coming in that are familiar with my scheme. So it'll take a little bit off of my plate when I have to step away and do some head coaching duties. But I just feel like at this level, you've got to continue to stick to what got you to this point. And being a defensive play caller is what got me on Edinboro's radar. So I believe I need to continue to do that. And I know it's not going to be easy. There's going to be a lot of different things that'll be pulling me in different directions. But I just feel like where you're at from a staffing standpoint, you've got to do a great job of continuing to play to your strengths. And so I continue to be very involved in what the defense is going to be and how the defense is called on Saturdays. And again, I think I'll do a good enough job to pay attention to what things have to be a little bit different from a workflow standpoint now that I am the head football coach. But I've been around a lot of guys that have had a lot of success at the Division II level, and a lot of them have continued to be play callers and find that way to make it happen, both as the head football coach and as an offensive or defensive play caller.
So what's the base defense that you're going to call? Are you 3-4, 43? Do you like to use whatever talent you have and kind of craft a defensive plan around that? What's your approach to that side of the ball?
Yeah, so personnel-wise, we're going to be a 3-3-5, but that's not going to really stick to us from a structure standpoint. We can go and be a 3-man front to a 4-man front. It's a really hybrid defense. We're going to use 2 or 3 guys that can play multiple positions, whether it's that will that sometimes going to be an edge, sometimes going to be at the second level as a linebacker, or that star spot that sometimes will be a nickel slot corner type guy. Sometimes he's the middle safety in our 3 high. So I've always been a big believer of having a lot of tools in the work belt there to be able to create a lot of different presentations for offenses and make it hard for offenses to figure out exactly what we're doing and being really multiple. And I think finding those guys that are those Swiss Army knives is really important to be able to do that and be able to move into different structures from snap to snap.
Now, Coach, you talk about finding those guys, and I think one of the biggest news items at any level of college athletics right now are things like recruiting, NIL, transfer portal, and things like that. So how do you plan to recruit and develop talent to compete in the PSAC? Because, I mean, as you know, it's a tough division. I get you could say, oh, it's just Division II, but the PSAC is scrappy, whether it's IUP, Slippery Rock, Gannon. I mean, there are some tough teams in there. So how do these new kind of recruiting strategies or kind of NCAA regulations come into play?
Sure, sure. I think for us, it's trying to make sure that we take care of home, and do a great job down in the Whippeal, do a great job in Northeast Ohio, and do a great job in Western New York. And Western New York has probably been the best spot for us right now, just because we can really compete with the New York State schools, and with the cut down now on Division 1 to 105. We're
Yeah.
not battling with UB as much anymore for those guys that potentially would have ended up being really good walk-ons for them that would have developed into scholarship football players. So there's a need up there to be able to go and get some, to for scholarship football up in Western New York. So that's going to be an area we'll lean on. And then we're going to play to our strengths as far as being a Whoopial guy and the connections that we're going to have there. And then we have a great alumni base in Northeast Ohio to help us continue to pull. So we're going to have to do a great job in freshman recruiting, and finding those right guys, especially in the trenches, the offensive line and defensive line. Like, if you're going to say, hey, we're just going to build off the transfer portal there, you're going to be in for a rude awakening, because it's just so hard to get those guys because they're so sought after. I mean, there's guys that if you have a little bit of tape Division 2 wise and you're an offensive lineman, you have a very good shot at potentially being a Division 1 guy if you decide to go in that portal. It may not work out for you, but you're going to at least have enough opportunities potentially if you do that. So we've got to do a great job of recruiting, and developing our talent, especially at those spots. And then there's going to be room to take 6 to 8 guys every year that are going to be your transfer portal guys that are looking for an opportunity, looking for this level of football, looking for the experience that Edinboro can provide. And we just have to do a great job of finding guys that come from winning cultures, that know what it's going to take to be successful, and are going to jump into what we're building here and not disturb what we have. And that's the success we had at my last school at New Haven. And so I hope to continue to have that here in Edinboro, is just finding those right guys that are going to be a part of the culture and not take away from the culture.
Yeah, I love that.
Coach, are you bringing anybody with you from New Haven as transfers, guys that know your system, names that we should be aware of when we start the season?
Not as of right now. I mean, listen,
Okay.
I respect the heck out of Coach Pence, and I love that program to death over
Yeah.
there. So for me, like, I'm never going to be a guy that's like, hey, let me go tell this guy he should be coming out with me or anything. There may
Right?
be
Oh,
there
yeah.
may be there may be a handful of guys that reach out to me after the spring, after they go through their transition and see. But at the end of the day, like, I feel like there's enough guys out there, and I don't ever want to do anything to disrupt the experience of my players, because I care about New Haven and what the experience I had there. And I think I just don't think that that's good business. I'll if the guys
No,
want to
that's good.
drop in the portal and reach out to me, that's great. But I never feel like it's my place to be like, text the
Yep.
guy after I'm leaving, hey, I'm leaving. And, when you go in the portal, make sure you let me know. I just don't think that's good business. So I'm
Yeah.
going to always take care of where I came from, for sure.
Yep. No, and that speaks a lot to your character and your ethics too, Coach. We appreciate the honesty there too. Like I said, I'm an IUP guy, but Paul and Rich are both Boro grads, so I know
I'm wearing my Edinboro stuff today on purpose. It's not an
Let's
accident.
go.
That's it. That's it. They're excited, and we're excited. To meet you and to bring you to the district and into the county. Just reach out if we can do anything for you. I have a feeling this won't be the last time we're talking with you.
Hope not.
Yeah, definitely. I really appreciate you guys putting me on today, and again, really excited for where we're going, and hopefully we're going to bring a lot of excitement to this region by the type of football we play and the players that we have a part of this program. And again, really appreciate you guys. Go Boro.
That's it.
Love it, man.
All
Appreciate
right,
you.
Coach. Take care.
All right, thanks. Bye-bye.
All right, that was Matthew Scott, Edinboro's head football coach. Exciting stuff there. I'm excited to see what he brings to the table. All right, we got to take a break, but when we get back, we are not finishing up NFL talk. I should never say that.
Never done.
All right, we got to take a break. You're listening to Flagship City Sports Talk, brought to you by Quickfill.
Auto Supply makes
Welcome back. You're listening to Flagship City Sports Talk, brought to you by Quick Fill. He got me fired up. I love a way a coach speaks, because I feel like every time we interview a coach, it's like, let's go.
That was my immediate takeaway. Was like the guy speaks in coaching euphemisms, and he just naturally fires you up, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Two feet in, and they dove in with 2 feet in. Didn't know if it's Tuesday or Chicago. I mean, some of my favorites.
He's up there with with some Tomlinisms there. We're gonna have to,
yes, exactly.
We're gonna have to keep track of those Scottisms.
Scottisms. I like that.
All right. Well, let's put a bow on the NFL season, and we're going to obviously still be talking NFL. We got a lot of, the NFL calendars year round. But one of the things we wanted to do was kind of just put a bow on the NFL system and really kind of look forward and say, okay, here we have the Browns, the Bills, the Steelers. What is one offseason must? What is one thing they must do to turn this around coming into the next season? So let's get into the Rust Belt rundown. Now I would like to start
with the theme music. That makes sense. All right.
I do want to start with the Browns, because I feel like there's a lot going on there, and like you just said, we got about 7 minutes, and there's no way to fix the Browns in 7 minutes. But if you could pick one thing, and I'm going to go first here, and if I could do one thing, the must do for the Browns is admit you've made a mistake. At this point, you need to cut bait, commit to the rebuild, cut Watson. Trade Garrett for as much as you could possibly get, and you just need to recycle. This AFC is so dominant right now. Watson is not your answer, and if that's not going to work, if none of this is going to happen, then maybe you just need to find some new ownership, because this is just not working. Cut bait and rebuild.
Okay, mine is along the same lines. Maybe not exactly the same. I phrase it as preparing for life after Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to cut Watson. It's just too much dead money to not have that player on your roster. There may be a point where, he re-injured his leg, actually, training in Miami.
There's a potential buyout.
I was going to say there's a buyout. You can probably knock some money off that contract if he hits a couple of things. But staying away from the albatross, life after Myles Garrett, you're going to have to get a haul. This team, even with Myles Garrett, probably isn't a top 10 team in the AFC, and I hate to put it that way. So I think you trade your far and away best player and try to look for 2, 3, 4 years down the road. I think the downfall started when they decided to get rid of Baker Mayfield. That was a team that he says go, he says jump, and the whole team says how high.
Sure.
And ever since they got rid of that guy, it's been a steady decline. So I think it's tough in the NFL because Garrett is a superstar.
Yeah.
He's well liked in the area, but at this point it's all right, let's see how much we can get for him, because 2025 probably isn't going to be the Browns' year. Let's look at 26, 27, 28.
I like it. I think the downfall happened in Cleveland, though, when they came back, but that's just my opinion. All right. Let's jump into Buffalo, because this kind of ties into exactly what you were saying. My offseason must for the Buffalo Bills is to do whatever you need to do to trade for Myles Garrett, because I think that is that one key piece that this team is really missing. And, you can't recreate what the Eagles did to the Chiefs.
No.
But you need something, and Von Miller is not the answer. I think if you can take Myles Garrett, if you could take 2 first-round picks and send it to Cleveland for Myles Garrett today, I would make that trade in a heartbeat, because I think he is that type of team breaker imagine that defensive line with Garrett, Rousseau, and Ed Oliver as your starting 3 defensive linemen.
I'm a Dolphins fan. I'd rather not think of Garrett in Buffalo, but I don't disagree. I think what makes that interesting, your trade scenario interesting, is because they could potentially offer a player like Von Miller in that trade. So the Browns more or less get starter for starter.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's going to be a contract remade there, but a couple of first-round picks plus a plug-and-play player, that would be interesting, I think, both sides.
Yeah.
My way to not fix the Bills, because they're not really broken. I talked about them on my podcast this week, something they can do in the run game, you got to listen to that for that answer. For my Flagship City Sports Talk answer, I'm going to say enhance the receiving core.
Yeah.
They traded for wide receiver Amari Cooper in October. It hasn't worked out ideally, but a lot of it is scheme and repetition and players getting to know each other, and kind of I think an offseason is going to help, but Keon Coleman's not the guy. Khalil Shakir, as nice a chess piece as he is, he's not a true alpha number one outside receiver. I think to give Josh Allen and that offense the absolute best chance to win right now, the window's open right now, you got to get him some receivers.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. And there's going to be some receivers in free agency too when you look at guys like
Do they throw the
Devontae
bag
Adams.
at T. Higgins?
Right.
Maybe. Yeah, Vontae's an interesting one, a little bit up there, but looking for a championship now. Yeah, I think the Bills have options, but I think it starts with the running back position and the wide receiver position.
I just think they're missing that one piece to get them over get them over the Chiefs hump. All right, let's round it out with the Steelers. And I'm a little too close to this, so I'm going to let you go first with this one.
All right, let me scroll back to this one because I figured we'd start with the Steelers. So this one, probably the most obvious way to do it is you have to secure a long-term quarterback.
Yes.
Obviously, evaluating Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. Do we want another 1 or 2 year contract with one of the guys? Do you bring back one, both, neither? Is there somebody in the draft that you like? Is there a potential free agent that fits what Arthur Smith wants to do with that offense? Kirk Cousins is interesting. Sam Darnold's interesting. Obviously, the cadre of young players that we're going to see in the draft. Combine coming up next week. What do you like? How do they run? But I think Pittsburgh, it all starts with the quarterback position.
Sign Justin Fields is where I'm at. I mean, you can probably get him cheaper than you can get Darnold right now. Darnold's going to collect a bag in the offseason. And then I'm tired of these one-year things. Like, I don't want a Kirk Cousins. I don't want to trade for a Matt Stafford because those are still Band-Aid pieces, and that tells me that the team thinks they're that one piece away, and they're not. They need to find that long-term responsibility at quarterback. Let Russ go, sign Justin Fields, and draft a guy like Riley Leonard who can play that same sort of we'll get into that for a different day. The look on your face says enough. But I think just having that same similar style as Justin Fields would be, it doesn't have to be Riley Leonard, but like that mobile-ish quarterback like a Fields to kind of have that 1A, 1B, because Russ and Fields were not the same type of quarterback. No. So it was a completely different offense when you brought in Russ.
Agreed.
And that changes everything.
I agree.
So I think that's the biggest thing is find the long-term answer at quarterback. I don't think it's guys, like I said, like a Darnold, like an Aaron Rodgers. Well, I do think it could be a Darnold. I don't think it's guys like Cousins or Aaron Rodgers or Matthew Stafford, guys that are going to be
I think
one
the
or 2
thing
year
that makes
deals.
that interesting, though, is because this year's quarterback class, and again, we're still pre-combine, this isn't exactly
No, it's rough.
a superstar class, but you look at next year's draft and the quarterbacks that are potentially available there. Just off the top of my head, you got Manning, Nussmeier, and the kid from Penn State, Aller.
Yep.
To probably headline the top 3. There's guys that I can't think of at the moment. So
but they're not going to tank. They're not going to take a losing season to get guys like that. So I think you sign Fields for a 2-3 year deal, and
I'm
then
not saying tank,
see
but
what
you can
happens
trade?
for next year. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't know. It's an off season I'm looking forward to, though.
If you end up with Fields and or Riley Leonard, that's a tank.
Erie, thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Nick Artman, signing off for Paul Adams and Rich Smith. Kind of clunky today, but we did it. That's it. We're done. Have fun.
You love